comparison though, those are.
That's why I liked that.
Good, yeah.
It made it really easy.
Well, it was a bit mind numbing going through all this ordinance.
Yeah. This one says, what?
Well, it's interesting too, how they differ and where they differ, For example, if you looked at the counties, their list of prohibited activities, it was extraordinarily long. Most of them didn't even have a list. I guess the River County did. They were saying you can't use them for wedding venues or, rehearsals or whatever. Counties like that, all this.
Yeah, we didn't have anything. Oh, no, Skamania County had the big one, yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't specify particular events.
No.
It just said you couldn't have events that would cause this type of condition to exist.
Yeah.
I like the new chairs.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, we all do.
You don't
Big
go
difference.
backwards when you sit down.
That's right, or start sinking as you're talking.
The little things.
Right.
The meetings gotta go 20% longer because people are more.
Yeah, they do.
Don't have to get up and bent over. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while.
Strange person.
Miss ya.
Hi, Charlie.
There's a whole house tonight.
It is. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Or Matt.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not as young as the weather.
Oh,
Jeff, you got another packet?
yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what?
that's a good idea.
Here's a packet minus one thing.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just missing this that I really wanted.
Yeah, you have to come in and grovel for the guy.
Please, can I have just a few pages?
City's trying to watch their budget.
Yeah, every piece of paper counts.
A half ream of paper here and half there. How that's
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
That's what's missing.
Oh, I didn't get one of them.
Here we go again. Oh, wow, this is a
That's
big
what Jeff
matrix.
worked on. Have you read it?
I'd look at it.
I had to.
Okay, let's get started here this evening. We have a call-in folks, if they want to be acknowledged, they should raise their hand and then you can let them in.
Yes.
Wes, if that's correct, so. Mary, welcome. Let's go on to our first item of business, the minutes of our November 10th meeting. We've all seen those.
I have read them and I motion that they be accepted.
You have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I read them and I just wanted to qualify my statement that it said suggested a cap using a percent would allow flexibility. Saying that the cap based on a percentage number,
Oh,
not a percentage cap,
no.
but an actual hard number.
Yeah.
So as long as that, and I think that's represented in the, what we actually have, so
Okay,
as long as there's no confusion.
all right. Well, we have a motion and a second, that sort of clarification. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay, motion carries. Okay. It's blank under new business. Blank under old business, but we're down to discussion of vacation rentals.
Do you have public comment?
You know, we should, Mary,
Yes, we should.
but it's.
It's not on here, but
I
yes, we
agree,
should.
but we'll put it on here. for you.
Well, thank
What
you.
have you got for us, Mary?
I think we've had that before. Thank you, Mary Rapar Stevenson. First, when you're gonna change a meeting, please put it on the door. I was here last night, or what was it? Monday night.
Monday.
And, I usually open stuff up, but I said, oh, it's the second Monday, I'll be there. And I got here and it was very dark in here. So that's just for the public, I come here all the time and the second Monday is it kind of engraved in my brain. So, and it does help if it's on the front door too, for those who might not come here as often. The second thing is I would like to pass on some news to you. The FSEC board for the Columbia transmission line is looking for, the city has to appoint somebody to be on the FSEC board, and that's the Energy Facilities Siting
Council.
and Energy Council, whatever they
Right,
are.
right.
And Evaluation Council. And the county has appointed a selectee to represent them. Now, the city council will have to appoint somebody, but in thinking about, if you appoint somebody who is actually a voting member of your body, they might not be able to vote when it comes to a vote of that body. So our city council might not want to appoint a city council member because they're going to be voting on the land use consistency stuff that's going to come before them probably sometime next year, who knows? So that's just, so the general public can put itself forward too as a possible member to represent the city of Stevenson. Bonneville will have to do their own appointment. So just something, if you're interested in that position, I would come probably at the next city council meeting. I don't know if they have it on the agenda, but it is something to bring up to them and put your name forward and see if you want to spend some time spinning your wheels on something like the transmission proposal. Just something for your edification, and there's probably the time involvement at the beginning will be much heavier than as time goes on. And
Just to be clear and transparent, I did advise the mayor and Wes that I would be interested in filling that capacity.
No,
But
good.
if others are interested,
And one final thing, your diagonal lines on Russell did not work because I was parked there and this lady made that turn to go uphill. I mean, even with all the cars pointed diagonally and I was parked right there, I honked the horn at her and she swerved away. But yeah, I have no clue why that street just invites people to go uphill on it.
just need a bunch of flashing red lights.
I don't know.
The wrong way sign.
That's it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Neil. Okay. All right, let's drop back to our work session here on the vacation rentals. I put together just a list of questions that I've been sort of trying to deal with. Pass that around. I decided it might help us focus our conversation. Now, we're not here to write this ordinance. I think we're here to say, what do we want to see in an ordinance? And then staff and the city attorney, in my draft that ordinance in the council review, but.
But the city council is looking to us to make a recommendation,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Is our goal at this meeting tonight to have that recommendation in place?
I'm not sure. We'll see how far we get. I think we want to get it to the city council, but we're in that period of transition in terms of, a new mayor and, two new council members.
That all happens on the first.
Yeah, it all happens on the first, so I'm not sure that, even if we had it done and ready for their first meeting in January, that they're gonna be ready to take it up.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah,
But I guess the goal would still be to get as far along as we can and then just have a few items that are open that we need to research.
right.
Okay.
So with that, take a look at the questions that I posed here. And again, I just sort of worked through a lot of the stuff, and some of the stuff we've already discussed. And some of the stuff was based on some comments that we got back or from the public at that work session that we did last month, which were some interesting points that, that I hadn't thought about. So I thought it was just worthwhile to go back and say, hey, let's make sure that this is where we want to go with our recommendation. I think one of the questions, the first question I have there is, do we want to have hosted and unhosted? They go by a variety of terms. Some of them would refer to them as shared homesteads as a vacation rental, meaning it's a unit within a house that is permanently, also houses a permanent resident. And then the other one is called a vacation rental or a standalone. But, I think the question is, do we want to have both types of units out there? Do you want that sort of standalone, which is solely used as a vacation rental? Or do you want one that is just an in-residence shared homestead rental? And we had at least two folks in our November meeting, we had the shared home. And that's what they were suggesting. And we also had one public comment, someone who was online came in and reinforced that as well, saying that they liked that. So that's sort of a question I think to keep in mind as we go through and talk about some of these points, because if we go down to that next question, it goes back to the numbers, and folks were saying, a couple of folks were saying they didn't think there should be a cap on the in-residence.
On the what?
On the in-residence, the shared homestead.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were saying that was more consistent with neighborhood values.
So the issue that I see with this is that this is a very kind of a broad stroke for the whole city, whereas we have specific zoning areas. And we're not gonna create a different document for each zoning area. So in a single family residence area, I think having multiple families living in a single family, you're kind of negating the whole purpose of the zoning. So I think we have to be really mindful of that when we're creating, whether it's a hosted or unhosted in an area that, I mean, again, we've already touched on the fact that this is a quasi business. And then you have you're basically creating a second residence besides your ADU, which may be allowed or not allowed, depending on where you are and how much space you have. And so we just got to keep that in mind when we're talking about hosted and non-hosted. It depends on what the zoning is.
And I think most of the hosted ones we have are in our current single-family residential areas.
Oh, they are.
Well, that's why, any suggestion that it shouldn't have a number on it, I think already puts us in kind of hot water.
Well, and we we had come up with this idea of a cap and of you get one hosted and one non-hosted, and that's it. So we, we try to meter. So I think the answer to your first question would be, yeah, but, yes, we're allowing both, but limiting them.
Letting them overall, and
Yeah.
it's a cap that would apply to both.
Right. Caps can
Yeah,
apply to both, and then,
I don't think we can really separate them out. I think the cap needs to just be a hard set number that's created on the percentage, and we can put a time frame that's reassessed every 5 years. So the number can increase as the city increases potentially. But, not having to go through and count houses every year. And some years the numbers go down and sometimes they go up. Just to create some consistency and predictability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when we looked earlier, at the number of single-family residences we had and the number of vacation rentals that we were aware of, that was about 2.5% of the single-family housing stock.
Yeah.
In the city currently.
Do you have an Excel sheet that says how many R1s, R2s, R3s we actually have, the units?
The city does,
I think we have, I don't know if we have them broken down
by zones.
by zone, but they're all in single-family residential zones. They're all in residential zones, it's what that. So consensus here, a fixed number, a specified number?
I'm not sure we need to put a limit on the owner occupied units. That it comes back to what the gentleman that was speaking on that at our last meeting. If we're putting limits on these because of trying to keep a neighborhood community going, the non-owner occupied has an impact on available housing. The argument was that if you're an owner occupied unit, you're not having an impact on available housing. The only impact you might have is on your neighborhood. And a lot of these, we call them hosted, but it's really owner occupied. It's your primary residence. And a lot of people have primary residence that they vacate for a portion of the year. And during that 4 months, they are doing an Airbnb on these. And it doesn't have an impact of now we've got 2 families in the house instead of 1. And if you have an ADU, that really doesn't have an impact on the housing as well if you're renting it out on a short-term basis. I think that in the interest of providing an opportunity for people to have owner-occupied short-term rentals, I think it's better we don't limit those. That we put the limit on non-owner occupied standalone units. And because that really does have an impact on housing, and it's always a transient person there. Owner occupied is not necessarily that transient. It has to be less than 6 months a year that it's transient, because otherwise it's not their primary residence. So my feeling is we shouldn't put a limit on those owner occupied units, that should be available to as many people as want to do it. But we have that limit on the standalone units.
I think one of the other arguments was that having an owner occupied might actually make housing more affordable for some folks, in that they can augment their incomes through that rental and be able to afford the house that they're doing. So that was something that was brought up at our last meeting.
Well, so the argument was that if this was allowed, that they could build an ADU and create extra income, which they can already do now. And so it didn't create any opportunity that they don't already have.
Well,
As far as building an ADU second residence.
right now
If
you would
you're
only,
talking about just renting a room in your house,
Or the couple that was here that they had a couple, both of them that were here, they have separate,
Right, I mean,
You
if
know,
it's
it's
shared
not-
in the same,
yeah, within the same
house.
dwelling, yeah.
I mean, again, it goes back to it's a business that you're running in a residential area. So I think that's where the first question was, how do we regulate people in a residence having a business in the residence? And so I think if we just have no number set, I think you potentially can lose control of that. Does that
Do
make
we
sense?
don't have any numbers right now on, owner occupied, short-term rentals, do we?
Yes,
The,
We have partial,
I don't think we
numbers.
do,
it's just whoever's applied for a license.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't believe we have the numbers separated out.
Separated out,
like that,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, we have a number of those that are owned by folks that are not residents.
Correct.
But we
Right.
don't have a number in terms of which ones are owner occupied and which ones are not.
Mhm.
So that's another box to mark on the application.
But I think it is a legitimate point, if you're talking about the character of the neighborhood. You have a house that is a permanent residence. On the other hand, you've got, if it's an unhosted one, you've got a house that, as a vacation rental, has a limit on how many nights a year it can be occupied. And so for a good portion of the year, the majority of the year is an unoccupied residence in the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, Tony, you make a good point. Maybe we don't have a compelling interest as a city to regulate that.
I think in some ways you want to give that person a leg up on doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it is their primary residence there. It is, yes, there is an investment in doing that, but to me, it's in a different category of someone who has purchased a home specifically to turn it into a short-term rental unit.
You know, our zoning ordinances also provide for home occupations.
Right.
In some ways, you're talking about a full-time residence where someone has an occupation, they may even have some traffic into that house, although it's very limited. This would be very similar, I think, if you have a shared home or a hosted vacation rental. It would be very similar to what we already allow in terms of a home occupation.
well, that may be one area where we might modify what we came up with earlier. I mean, there may be other areas too, but before we'd said, let's have a numerical cap, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it would have applied to both. And you're
Right.
saying, and I think it's persuasive maybe that, hey, we don't maybe have a real interest in regulating owner occupied short-term rentals.
We're gonna regulate them, but it's just in this one category of where
Right.
you
Yeah,
limit the quantity. One, I don't think I think the majority of the short-term rentals are not owner occupied. That it's a much smaller number you're dealing with.
mhm,
And for the purpose of making a house more affordable, it doesn't have an impact on the existing housing inventory. I think that there's some incentive for us to give opportunity if someone to not limit it. And then maybe at a different time, we revisit it. If it becomes something that is becoming a concern, we can always go back to it at a later date.
so that would amend our earlier list to a numerical cap on the total number of non-owner occupied units, right?
We would leave the non-owner occupied units.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's where the cap would apply.
That's for the capital.
Cap would apply to non-owner occupied units, but wouldn't apply to owner occupied units.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that makes some sense. I mean, yeah,
It's a bit of fortune telling is what it is as well. You're
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
forecast what's
we're
gonna
also in
take
baby
place.
steps with this. We're trying to, you know,
Yeah.
I agree with limiting as much control as we can, and I agree that I do have a problem with this in the sense that it's the city telling a homeowner what they can do with their home. But if it's actually their home,
Hmm.
it makes more sense with what you're saying versus, you know, somebody coming in to make money on vacation rental that doesn't live here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the way I see it.
yeah,
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 yeah.
I agree.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Alice?
If you own a home and you rent out a space in that room, you're a landlord.
Yes,
There's specific regulations that you have to follow to do that.
yeah,
And so for each Airbnb and whatever has their own subset of regulations that they create. I'm not really in favor of opening this wide open.
even to owner occupied units.
I mean, if you buy a house, it's to live in, not to live in and run a business in or become a landlord in. That's, if you're gonna go into the landlord business, do it somewhere besides the single family residential area.
Except we're already allowing that with short-term rentals.
When allowing that with ADUs. Right,
I mean, what we're looking at is how to regulate that.
right.
Right now, we
Right.
don't really have any regulation on it. And what other places have seen is that if you don't regulate it, it potentially can become a problem.
Mhm.
So, I'm kind of trying to be proactive on the regulation side. So that we don't end up going, gee, you know, why did we let it get like this? You know, and I think a majority of the people don't rent out parts of their house. That's not something that they're used to. They may not find that appealing to have neighbors on both sides that have rentals. I mean, that's a bigger question for the general population.
Mhm.
But there's no prohibition up there if I wanted to move to Vancouver and keep my house here and just use it as a rental.
Yeah.
I don't have to, there's nothing I need to do to get permission to do that.
Long-term rental.
Long-term rental.
Right.
Except for you then become a landlord and you have obligations as landlord. They have obligations as a tenant. There's a contract.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is different than a short-term rental. It's not as, you know, there's not a
Not as
month to month or a year-long lease that's involved.
Now you're talking about, in that case, a permanent resident. In this case, we're talking about a vacation or a tourist rental.
Yeah, I mean, they're fundamentally different in their character. You know, one is you're just there very temporarily. And it's not the same person. If you're renting it for a year, you get to know your neighbors, you know, and it's a different feel.
The transience has gone away.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thought I have about this as we're talking about is just demographically, you know, the average age in Stevenson is 62, I think. There are a lot of people who have more house than family at this point in their lives. Not every house is physically well set up to have, you know, part of it be a Airbnb
Shared
unit
or
or
even a
shared housing.
yeah.
But if you got a three or four bedroom house and the kids have all moved out, you know, there's more space than you need. And there are probably a lot of households in Stevenson that kind of look like that now, given the average age and what's going on with school age population, which is not good, but it is nevertheless real. So this does give those folks a chance to do something, other than just move out of that big house and find a smaller one.
Yeah. Cool, and you know, like I say, I don't have a problem with that, so I think it should be included in the cap number.
Okay.
I mean,
If we set the cap well enough, then there's still
Yeah,
headroom.
I mean, I think
That's the other way to cut it.
currently, we're 50% of what other communities have as a
Right.
cap.
Yeah.
And so the potential is still there to allow growth,
Hmm.
even as we sit right now.
Mhm.
Um,
That we certainly see all treatments. Hood River is basically, if you're in a residential zone of Hood River, it has to be hosted. If you've got an existing unhosted, it's grandfathered. But if it lapses, you have to have a hosted.
Yeah, and that's what we had suggested, in our outline of, like existing ones, non-hosted, unhosted or grandfathered, but after that, you get one.
Yeah.
I still like that limit.
But they don't have a cap.
No, they have no cap,
Yeah, so
Hood
it's
River doesn't.
Hood River.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
but
it's
they're all hosted.
self-regulating. You can only have one and it has to be your primary residence.
Right.
Or you have to, yeah, it has to be your primary residence in Hood River.
so that was their
Your primary
fundamental
residence,
tool.
or it has to be a long-term lessee could be there at Hood River.
Oh, okay.
And is long-term anything after 30 days or anything after 6 months?
I'd have to go back and look at the ordinance.
Yeah,
you lease it for a month and Airbnb it out for the time.
I think it's probably. So what's the sense?
we may be split on that issue, but
You want to go down the list?
Go down the.
The list that you gave us?
Yeah, that's why I put the
Okay.
questions out here.
Should both hosted and unhosted vacation rentals be allowed?
I think our current answer is yes, within limits.
Yeah, well, that's the next question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are the limits?
Should there be a cap on number of vacation rentals? Should it be a specific number or percentage? I personally like the idea of a specific number based on the percentage of single-family residences.
I agree.
Yeah, I do too. That's what I do.
With a time frame for,
Yeah.
Would change, yeah,
review-
like you said, every 5
Review in
years or
X
whatever.
years, yeah, right.
yeah, not every 6 months. I mean, you don't want to make it so that the city's like,
Yeah.
oh, now we
Right.
gotta do
We're
a
doing
number
this
count
again.
again.
Maybe every 5 years or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Should the cap apply to both hosted and unhosted vacation rentals?
Now, do you mean owner occupied? by
Hosted would be
yeah,
owner.
hosted means,
Yeah, I would use owner then. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
owner
definition.
hosted.
A host, I can host.
Yeah.
I get invited in by my neighbors to host their vacation rental folks. So I would be more definitive in that one.
And I wouldn't use the word hosted.
Yeah.
I'd use primary residence
Mhm.
because that means
Mhm.
they're there 6 months of the year as a minimum. And then they may not be around for the
Mhm.
short-term rental for the 3 or 4 months that they have it on the market.
Yeah, so instead of hosted, the question is primary residences.
And there's so many terms out there, each jurisdiction.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think just so long as we're clear in terms of what the.
What it
intent is.
means.
Well, I think if it's gonna be keyed with a residential restriction, I think we should stay with that as the terminology and not a host, because then you gotta,
Yeah,
like, wait, am I a resident or am I a host? Or
yeah,
can I host if I'm not a
Well,
resident?
I think a host implies that you were there
yeah.
as well.
But-
And I would venture to say that a lot of the time people, primary
And
residence
some
not
of the platforms specifically don't want you to have a host.
Yeah.
I mean, they tout that there's no creepy host.
you're the only one there.
Right,
Is it
exactly.
commercial?
Yeah, yeah.
So in terms of a cap, then what are we thinking? I mean,
What's the number at 5%? Was it
There's
38 or
approximately 800 residences.
approximately 800?
So that'd be 40.
That'd be 40.
5% would be 40, yeah.
And I think we have something like 36.
No,
And we
it's
know
not
what
the current
number.
Yeah,
Yeah, the current number is less than that.
So it's less than the cap right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what the number was. We had it based on some things.
I think you only know the people who've actually gotten permits. You don't really know that other
Mhm.
people aren't doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
agree.
Right,
Yes.
and part of what we want to do is try to, in effect, chase people into complying. You know,
There's 23 licensed.
23 licensed, but we think there's more than
Which
that.
they're almost certainly more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's 2.5% right there.
So 5% seems fine with me.
yeah, I think 5% is fine, 40.
Whatever that number
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
that'd be the specific number.
And so that's for primary and.
Well, that's the
not
question.
primary residence?
That's the question of the evening.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the next question. Should it apply to unhosted? Should it apply only to
Primary
Hosted.
residence and
Residence,
non-owner
yeah.
occupied or hosted, and non-hosted, same thing, two different ways, but yeah.
yeah,
I think for simplicity's sake, and the fact that we're so far below what the cap is, let's just make it for everything
And then see,
and then see,
okay,
and that'll help us track what's actually happening.
yeah,
And if we decide that we want to open it up at the present time, it's not going to inconvenience anybody.
that's
by
fair,
having a
that's
cap on
true.
it.
Good
That's true.
point.
Good point. So start out this way, see how it
let
works.
us know.
Yeah,
I like that.
so the answer would be yes, it should apply to both. Yeah.
3 years.
Every
not
3
for-
years.
Yeah, every 3 years.
In
I
case we
think,
have a
yeah,
real estate.
5 years
Um,
is too long, I think, yeah.
Okay,
I didn't hear that, Mary.
5 years is too long.
to revisit it all.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
agree.
3
Well,
years is
yeah.
unrealistic.
Oh, you mean to
Yeah.
to
To
do another
reassess the
analysis on
numbers.
it?
Reassess.
Check
Yeah,
on
I
how we're
agree.
doing. Yeah, I agree. It's 5 years is way too long.
Yeah,
So what do you want to suggest?
Yeah.
She said 3.
2 years, 3
I
years,
agree.
something
I
like
think
that.
I
Yeah.
think 2 years would
we
be
should look at it in 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
24 months.
I think that gives us enough time to crunch a few more numbers.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, 2 years is not a huge lift. If it was 6 months, that would be a little.
that would be a lot.
That'd be difficult, yeah, but 2 years is not bad.
Okay, let's go with 2 then.
So then the next one, should there be separate limits for hosted and unhosted vacation rentals? That's a no
I'm saying not for now, yeah.
for now. If there is a cap, should a waiting list be maintained for use when an opening becomes available?
Yeah,
Yeah,
And I
took over
think
your
part of that,
question.
I think we
Yeah.
talked about that before. If you are not keeping up with your license, you have a set time period, and if you lose it, then the person on the waiting list gets to take that. You've lost
Yeah.
your chance.
yeah, that's one of those incentives for people to get with the program here, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Should the owner operators of vacation rentals be residents of this, only be residents of the city?
And that's what we've
Yes.
come up with
Yes.
before, and said, yes, yeah, yeah. That's probably our most serious
Yeah,
clamp,
change.
yeah,
Mhm.
right.
How many vacation rental units should an owner operator be allowed?
1 and 1.
1 and 1.
That's what
right.
we did,
Yeah.
yeah. Should existing vacation rentals be grandfathered use?
Yes.
Yeah, but they gotta get a license.
Yeah.
And they have to keep it up.
And-
If they lose it,
Yeah,
it's gone.
And there's should be some period of time that, we're not gonna be there yet. I was thinking at some point you're gonna find people that are operating without a license.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens and we're at our limit, they don't get a license at that
Mhm.
point because people are on the waiting list, they can get on the waiting list.
yeah.
Should there be occupancy limits and parking requirements?
Yes,
Definitely.
Really? I say no. I don't think I think it's a de minimis problem. I'll tell you a little story that, from some years ago in Stevenson, Bill and Annette Combs' house was threatened by the landslide and eventually was destroyed, and slid down the hill. And when they moved into our house, and we went from, 2 people in that house, because like the story I told earlier, the kids gone off to 7. And, went from 2 cars to 4. And I would say that had absolutely no impact on the neighborhood, that there were 4 cars coming and going from our driveway every day rather than 2. So I'm being a little playful here, but, people get all wigged out about parking and traffic. And remember that one car, that's 6 cars per hour is a car every 10 minutes. Okay, there goes a car. The level of traffic and parking issues in the neighborhoods in Stevenson is so far below the threshold of pain that I don't think it's worth regulating. Editorial opinion.
I think it depends on where you're at. Because some of our new construction pushed very heavily on their setbacks and their parking spaces.
Yeah, and
And,
was,
and we required that they provide enough space away from that front yardage so that if there was a sidewalk, they would not be hanging out into the sidewalk, et cetera, et cetera. So if one of these type of buildings becomes a potential rental, how do you deal with the parking? Because there's no street parking in
Well-
that neighborhood.
or do we have a lot of areas where there's no street parking?
In certain
Some,
places.
Yeah, because the
And
streets
so-
are fully improved.
Maybe base it on the number of complaints you get in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so
I
maybe,
think-
Well, I mean, I
Seems like
saw
a-
that some places you needed to provide parking on the property. You know, and that was a requirement.
But it was fairly minimal. It was one parking spot off street.
Well,
Which is just-
sometimes
Well, if
one
you can't
per,
meet that-
one per bedroom was one.
that's a lot.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot, yeah.
That is quite a bit, but going back, I think if you're going back and thinking about the occupancy, when you look at the occupancy requirements that are in there, they're 2 per bedroom plus 2. So if you had a 3-bedroom house, you could have 10 people in there or 8 people.
Hey, yeah,
You know, and I think the reason it's in there is folks are a little bit worried about a party house where.
Yeah,
all of a
that's-
sudden-
Yeah.
That's a legitimate worry.
or a wedding, or, I agree.
We have a hand raised.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Can you allow her to speak?
She should be, yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. My name is Bernie Bacon, and I had a quick question. I want to thank you all for your time, and I've really enjoyed this thoughtful discussion. My question was about grandfathering in. Does that apply to only those that are permitted, correct? I understand that there's many that are not permitted in the city. So that was my only question. Thank you.
I think it is a good question,
Yeah.
but
I would agree.
I think if they are permitted, I mean, if we have a cap and they're unpermitted, they can easily get a license or a
Not if
permit.
they're a resident, if they're a non-resident,
If they're-
they can't.
Yeah, if
Right,
they're non-resident, they can.
They would have, if they're non-resident, they have to currently have some type of official
Permit.
permit
Right.
as it is right now. That would be grandfathered as, just because they're using it as that with no permit does not apply as a grandfathered situation.
Not a grandfathered situation, but
Right.
if it was within the cap, they could get a license to do it
if they
If
live
they're a
here.
resident,
if they're a resident.
If they don't live here and they have an unlicensed
vacation.
vacation rental here, that unit is not eligible to get a permit under this new
Correct.
structure if it
Right.
gets approved.
Mhm.
So it's a good question and
Is that clear?
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. We just need to delineate that,
yeah, no, I think her question helps us keep that clear.
yeah.
So,
So I'm a big proponent for occupancy limits, because that really does stop a lot of issue with vacation rentals.
Yeah, okay.
And it's the classic 2 per bedroom plus an extra 2. So we had a 3-bedroom in Sun River, there were 8, and that was it. That limits the parking.
People,
8 people total. Children or adults,
Yeah.
it's 8 total. And it limits the parking. It somewhat limits parties. It will limit it being a venue for something else besides just a vacation rental. So I'm a big proponent of that. The parking, boy, in our neighborhood, if I had if I had an ADU and it was a vacation rental, I'd either have to create more space for parking, or else they'd be parking on the street, and that might become an issue.
if there's safe and legal on-street parking, maybe not, but maybe that
Yeah.
doesn't, of course, exist
Yeah,
everywhere.
but yeah,
Yeah, so maybe we should. I mean,
Yeah.
I can stand down on my editorial statement, but I partly just, we live on a fully improved street with
Yeah.
on-street parking on one side. You can park 20 cars, for a party at our house. In fact, have.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you have off-street parking?
we have off-street parking
Yeah.
and it's
So you
legal
would-
to park on one side of our street,
Yeah.
so.
So you would
There's
qualify
plenty of
anyway.
parking, but
This
that's not
wouldn't limit
everywhere.
anything that you would have.
No,
wanted
no,
to do.
Not at all.
No, but that's not everywhere in the city. I gotta acknowledge that. It's not the case in every street.
St.
So,
White Salmon and Hood River require one off-street parking space for 2 bedrooms.
that's reasonable.
Which is not very much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. And
that's a
then
minimum.
if you had the possibility of on-street parking, that would, you know, say if they came in 2 cars, that would give them somewhere to park.
Mhm.
At least it's creating the onus on
There's not
the
gonna be 8
applicant
cars.
to provide for some type of parking
Mhm.
and not just throw it off on the neighbors,
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
you know, which blocking people's mailboxes sometimes gets
That's the whole
a
thing.
little
Yeah.
bit tedious.
So on occupancy limits, are we okay with
2,
2 per bedroom plus 2?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
I'm gonna put a plug in for, the parking. I think you've heard this pitch before, I'll make it again. On Lasher. What's his name, Brian's, condos. There is no room for a sidewalk, and if it's a truck, the butt is sticking out in the street. And there's no sidewalk on either side, so you have to walk in the street anyway. People don't use their garages to park their cars, first of all. They park on the street or try to park in that very short driveway. So in the future, if Stevenson is going to allow this type of development, there should be enough room to park a full-length truck, plus room for a future sidewalk if there's no sidewalk in the area. Everybody parks on Vancouver Avenue that has an extra car. They don't park in their driveway because their driveways are, I don't know, 10 feet long.
Mhm.
Well, that's one of the main reasons that we created the restriction for the setbacks.
Yeah, it really makes it difficult in the summer when the vacation rentals that are down there on Vancouver Avenue are rented out to like fishermen who have long trailers with their boats. And as you know, Vancouver Avenue slims down as you're going west.
Mhm.
So the parking is not there. You'll park anyway because it's right there by the rental house. But those driveways on those last, or the ones that were just built are fairly long, so you can park. But if you have a boat, you can park in the street.
But one space for 2 bedrooms, is that
I think
something?
that's a reasonable minimum.
Mhm.
I should note that Skamania County requires off-street parking for all guests.
What does that mean?
Yeah, how do they enforce that?
Well, and
I don't know.
if you get 8 people in one car, I don't know what.
Bring your
Does it
minivan
mean that
or your
space for every
Suburban.
person?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All right, next, should owner operators be required to carry liability insurance specifically covering dwelling use as a vacation rental?
yes. And it should be, with a minimum of $1 million.
well, I don't know what that seems like a high minimum, but we'll get back to that. But as long as it's just a box to check on the form, because the
That's
city
what
is
it
not
is.
going to be in a position to go check and see if they have liability insurance. So we're going to have a little bit of an honor system here. People saying, I have it.
Why won't a,
They can
your policy,
give you a copy of it.
Well,
the
if we want to
declaration page.
require that they provide proof of insurance when they apply for their license, then that's
Right.
not too burdensome on them and not too burdensome on the city. Are they giving us proof of insurance? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So, okay, you could do it that way. I just don't want to, I'm sensitive to the administrative burden, you know, 'cause- but proof of insurance, you know, give us a declarations page from your
You
policy.
gotta
Yeah.
do that at the DMV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I have to do it for my boat, so I understand that. Every time I go into a marina, I have to give them a declarations page.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Were you gonna speak?
Nope.
I was waiting
We
patiently.
were going back, I mean, we've got the $1 million in the table, that's what Skamania County requires.
Is it
Yeah.
$1 million liability?
And it's
Okay.
really, $1 million isn't that
Not
rate
what
of a burden.
Not what it used to be. Million here, a million
That
there.
can only get you half a house.
If you just specify liability insurance,
Yeah,
it,
it's a
it
plus.
may not cover what, we're looking out for health and safety on this as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially damage to other neighbors' property.
yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, but I don't, you know, if you're going to an insurance agent and you're saying, I need insurance for a vacation rental,
They're going to.
you know, that liability rate's gonna be higher than what it would be if. it was-
Sure.
It is.
But that's cost of doing business. Okay,
Well, if you're an owner, then you already have home insurance, right? So is it a rider?
yeah.
Yeah.
can be.
Much, yeah.
It would have to be, again, because we're looking for something that is specifically for a vacation rental.
Yes.
Okay, I can
All
live with
right.
that.
So I said yes, copy on application.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, owner operator be required to notify neighbors of a vacation rental and to post good neighbor guidelines for guests to follow.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Any discussion on that one? Or is that just, we're just gonna.
We just need to come up with what the language would be.
Mhm.
You know, each one of these ordinances uses that same good neighbor guideline language. There's, in my mind, there's gotta be something out there.
Yeah,
There is.
there's gotta be a
There
template
is.
for that, yeah.
It's a
We can give
standard
an
template,
example.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
we can find
Yeah.
it, So.
I think the vacation rental, when I was doing the census, I saw a lot of houses in Skamania County, and, the one there by in Lewis site on the hill had a little, plaque that was weatherproof, and it said, contact so-and-so for problems, issues,
Mm.
blah, blah, blah. So it gave contact information right there by the front door.
And that's really required is pretty much the standard, for all across all these ordinances, really.
You know,
Because they have to post the good neighbor guidelines and they have to post contact information.
And I don't know where we put the language, but the contact should be someone that's in town. If this person is a snowbird and they rent it out, you can't be calling Phoenix to try to get a problem resolved here. There has to be a local contact.
I've seen that. I'm not sure where it is. We've discussed it for sure.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, next one. Should owner operators be responsible for responding to questions, concerns, complaints relating to the operation of their vacation rental and to notify the city of concerns, complaints received and actions taken to resolve them?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, again, I don't want the city to be in the inspection business, but that doesn't require the city to be in the inspection.
No, but I think what it tees a situation up is if you've got an ongoing problem there, the city should know about it, because when we get down to enforcement, they may want to revoke that license. if
Right,
there's something
right,
going on.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, then they got grounds if they need to, right, okay.
Yeah, and I think it's probably better to just have it there, as saying that this is required of you, because I'm assuming most of the owners won't do it. As you know, it's based on the honor system,
Right.
will they actually follow through, but at least it's there on the city's, side.
Yeah, yeah,
the city will hear from neighbors first.
Right, that's much more likely.
So is that the avenue that we expect neighbors or complaints would take? Is that if it's a problem late at night,
They're gonna call 911.
they're gonna call 911.
And that becomes an issue because
Will the sheriffs let the city know that there was a complaint?
Yeah, I think they probably.
You'll see it on your report.
yeah, a monthly
They'll
report,
do a
but that's
monthly
it.
report.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that they would reach out to us on an individual case, like you said, maybe at the end of the month, but it's not likely that they'll say, hey, we got a call last night about this rental. It's not, I would assume that's not likely to happen.
Okay. Do we know of complaints that have happened with short-term rentals?
Ours in Sun River, I had a Ring camera up front and I saw things going on where I had to call the police.
Do we know of any that happened in Stevenson?
No, I don't
Judy
know.
Jensen, they've since moved, they lived up the hill. I don't know where they actually, Judy Jensen. Do you know, Jeff, where they lived up the hill here? But there was a vacation rental next to them and there was a big party outside, and, she did call the police. And it was rectified by whoever owned the property. But yeah, it was a lot of drinking and raucous behavior.
So it might be interesting to visit how, since the city's permitting these, how do we, get notified of complaints on short-term rentals?
I think the other thing too is to make it very clear that the owner is responsible.
Right.
Mhm.
For addressing or assuring appropriate behavior of their
Mhm.
Right,
tenants.
Yep.
okay.
Should there be specific use or event prohibitions?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I love the Skamania County ones. The unit shall be operated in a way that would prevent disturbances to neighboring properties not typical of a residential neighborhood, including but not limited to loud music, loud noises, excessive traffic, loud and uncontrolled parties, junk, debris, garbage accumulation in the yards, trespassing, barking dogs, or excess vehicles, boats, or recreational vehicles parked in the streets in front of the unit. The rental shall not be used at any time to host commercial events unless the rental is associated with an approved commercial event center.
Wow.
Wow.
Somebody put a lot of thought
Sounds
into
a
it.
lot.
Good. Yeah.
Can we
What-
copy and paste?
What they said, yeah, right.
Well, Hood River, I thought was a bit more open-ended, this events, but not including, events including but not limited to company retreats, weddings, rehearsal dinners, unattended barking dogs, or activities that exceed noise limits set by code.
That's good.
Yeah, either one of those is
Do we have noise limits?
a good idea,
I'm not sure we do. we?
yeah.
Daniel, have you encountered that yet?
Mm,
I don't know that there is a specific limit. I'm not sure how you would actually calculate that.
Like they have a decimal meter out. there or
Right.
something.
Well,
Like
we
they do in
we have
Arizona.
a cutoff, though. Don't we have a noise ordinance that says you cut off your music at 10 or 11 o'clock? Yeah, there's a city regulation on noise.
There you
You
go.
can't
There's your
have it.
homework.
I'll look it up, I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean,
I mean, either one of these, I mean, it requires some judgment and may or may not be numerically based in enforcement. There's sort of a reasonableness test here, like you're
Right.
disturbing the hell out of the neighbors and there's 14 cars and, big amplifiers and speakers, you gotta shut this down. I mean,
Yeah.
was it 65 decibels or 72? I don't care. You're disturbing the neighbors. It's a mess. Stop it. At some point, there's got to be a conversation between either neighbors or or a sheriff's deputy and a neighbor and an owner. But, so what we say, doesn't have to be completely numerically based. So there doesn't have to, in other words, there doesn't have to be a noise decibel level in the city code for there to be a noise standard.
Yeah.
Reasonable person standard.
Well, if 911's called and an officer shows up, they
Yeah.
have to be able to cite
They have to cite something, fair enough.
So there has to be some
Yeah.
definable threshold.
Right.
Well, neighborhood disturbance.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
why the Skamania County language, as long as it is actually
It's
not
more
bad.
clear.
Loud noises,
Mhm.
No, we can go with that.
They're having this discussion on Skamania Landing, actually, because of the wedding venue on top of the hill at the old Grange. And I was asked to provide some information, so I gave them the nuisance RCW, which is a really strong RCW. It says if my quality of life is affected, you're a nuisance. And so they had the sheriff down there, David Waymeyer, and a whole bunch of other folks just this last week to discuss this issue and how they were going to, because those guys on the landing heard everything coming down off the hill. So I don't know what they've decided, but the decibel issue was one thing. There are standards. Anything that hurts your ears is not good.
True.
Okay, here's the long one. Should owner operator be required to have building safety and fire inspections? To what standards? How frequently? Should the inspection reports be filed with the city?
And this is a real open question because there doesn't seem to be any specific building inspection standards for these types of operations. You know, I talked to, we had a commercial building inspector in our last meeting, and I chatted with him since. He was saying, for example, in Cascade Locks, when he did an inspection in Cascade Locks, it was just the rooms that they were renting out in the house and not the entire house. And he thought, no, that doesn't make any sense, because the safety of those individual rooms is really based on the condition of the entire house. So, you know, there's some question in terms of what the standards are. Now, the other ordinances apply to a fire safety list that talks about fire detectors, you know, extinguishers, carbon monoxide detectors, and egress plans. You know, do we have something? Is there something that the local fire department could suggest on that front?
The Hood River has a list of inspectors that they recommend for people to get an inspection from. I called up one of them and asked them about what they look for, and it's really health and safety that they're looking for. Just what you said.
Yeah.
Ingress, egress, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, locks. And that was really it. It's a very modified thing, but it all wraps around health and safety.
So the mechanism, it typically is, I'm thinking out loud here, I'm not saying that I know this. The mechanism is the city or the entity, the county, requires that you have an inspection.
In Hood River.
Recommends some inspectors who can do it,
Mhm.
but doesn't actually promulgate the code by which the inspection is
That
carried out.
I didn't ask.
I think that's where I would recommend we go, because the city doesn't want to be in the
We
position
don't
of
want to be
saying,
liable.
here's the code.
Right.
Yeah,
No, it's between you, the professional inspector, and your insurance company. Because we've already been tough on them with their insurance, and I think that makes sense, to make sure that this is a safe unit.
Yes.
But we don't want the city to be in the position of having to say it's safe or not,
Mhm.
because then that creates a whole administrative and liability issue for the city.
Mhm.
And I think that was part of the problem with the existing ordinances. It really placed the burden on the city to do those
Yeah,
inspections.
yeah.
And that is not what we want. We want the owner operator to be the responsible party for an inspection.
Mhm.
It's just to what extent, to what standard.
I don't think we state that. I think we say you're required to have a professional inspection of your unit. Here's some inspectors. And maybe
leave it at
maybe we require, just like the proof of insurance, that they provide proof that the inspection has taken place.
Well, my thinking is, because it's getting a little farther along than we are, is that you do the permitting process with a 2-year time frame,
Mhm.
not every year. And in that 2-year, you require proof of an inspection, your insurance, and get your license then.
Mhm.
And that's the cycle, but you do both of those add-ons at that time.
that's a good idea.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, you know, in fact, most of these, you don't. Stevenson, you renew your permit on an annual basis. One of the jurisdictions was every 4 years, one was every 5 years. You paid a fee every year, but your permit was good for multiple years.
Well, and that lessens the administrative issues
Yeah,
with the city
yeah.
if you're doing it every other year versus every year.
So what are we thinking? 2 years?
I think
3
2 years is a good
I like
idea.
2 years.
Yeah. Gives everybody a little more time
And
to
you-
get it right.
You just adjust the fees, so that's.
But that's
double
what I was
what
gonna say, I
it
wouldn't have them
would
pay a fee yearly, I'd have them pay a fee every time they do the permit and adjust the fee
right.
accordingly.
Yeah.
be. Yeah,
But you want that inspection to take place before anybody sets foot in that building, right?
Yeah, so they'd apply for the permit, they'd have to come back with insurance, proof of insurance, proof of inspection, and then they get their license.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down on,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
You know, maybe we should say that the owner is responsible, you know, for a building and fire inspection. It should specifically include fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, posted evacuation plans, etc.
But see, that's us getting into the specs. again.
Exactly. I like it.
I think requiring a professional inspection, but not
For a health
specifying.
and safety inspection for
There's,
occupancy.
Yeah,
there are actually, in the state of Washington, short-term rental code,
in the state,
and there's a
Yeah,
state
great.
code
Yeah.
that
great,
talks about it.
they've done it, then
So all we have to do is,
reference that.
is have Bruce reference that.
What's the citation on that, Tony?
It is,
An RCW.
Department of Ecology, Washington Government.
Oh,
My phone's taking too long.
Oh, Jeff, and also we have a hand raise.
yes. Is she a?
Yes, so
Okay,
that,
go ahead.
that RCW is 6437, and that does also require that $1 million liability insurance under that statute.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
One question I had was if the license is good for 2 years or 5 years or whatever the length is, what does that do to the waiting list? And then that also made me think, what is the gestation period on the waiting list? If they last after 1 week or month, is it then available, or what does that?
We're given a
process?
license for 2 years, so wouldn't it be 2 years?
Yeah.
Once they have the
There are-
license, yeah.
There are some jurisdictions that state that if you do not use it within a 6-month time frame, the license is forfeit.
But then we're on to who's gonna regulate that.
Yeah, who's gonna
Yeah.
show that it's not been unused?
Yeah.
There's only one jurisdiction that requires when you renew your license, that you have to provide an occupancy record for your prior license period.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to get that into the weeds.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, aren't we going to have, we won't have an occupancy record, but we're certainly gonna be collecting tax.
Yes.
So we'll know whether it's being used or not.
That's true.
How do you know how much tax is collected? Because it's collected by
It goes-
the owner?
It's collected by the
By the
state,
state.
and the state
comes back.
notifies the city.
It's a revenue that comes back to the city.
Okay, so we're good, and we all have the RCW.
Okay,
So last one is, what enforcement provisions should the ordinance include?
well, I mean, we
I think we kind
covered
of
that
already
from a
listed
paperwork
that.
standpoint. You gotta be licensed, you gotta be insured, you gotta be inspected. If you aren't, then the city, the enforcement provision is revocation, right?
Mhm.
We're not gonna send out an inspector, and we're not gonna, take you to a hearing. We're gonna revoke your license if you haven't met its requirements.
And the nuisance RCW really is a good thing to let them know about.
Mhm.
I can't remember the RCW, I'm sorry. I think it's 74 something, I'm not sure.
Yeah, most of them will have a warning provision, license, revocation. Some of them actually have fines.
Yeah, but that requires
Administration.
a level
Yeah,
of
we're trying not to
administration
do
that
all that.
we're not gonna be able to take on here. Wes is gonna run screaming from the room.
Can't do
So for health and safety, you're saying that Hood River only does a requirement every 4 years?
Okay.
I know we have to have our fire safety every year. For a
Yeah, I
hotel.
think, yeah, it's,
Their license period is every 4 years.
Licensing's every 4 years, so yeah, it probably is every 4 years.
that seems,
Let's see what
that
the,
seems a little lax to me.
very lenient.
yeah, I was just looking to see what their inspection requirement was.
Well, I mean, having,
I think an annual license period is appropriate because it gives you a time frame to time people out and start to work on your waiting list. But maybe have it so that if you continue your license, you only have to submit that health and safety report every 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, because I was
I think
thinking.
4 years is a really long time.
4 years is a long
Right,
time.
To
I
like,
agree with you.
oh, well, yeah, that fire detector's, it fell off 3 years ago.
Mhm.
That doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah,
But a fire inspection each year seems a bit cumbersome.
I think so.
Perhaps not, but there's probably a sweet spot there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, like, maybe every 2 years,
Yeah.
if you're current with your annual,
License and insurance.
relicensing, yes, and you've got your insurance and everything like that, then every other year, you have to include a health and safety fire report.
You could have it every year, but they just bring in a copy of the inspection that's good for 24 months in the licensing process. They're gonna bring in another current copy of their liability insurance.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that would work
that
too.
would work. Let's do that.
Yes, Bernie, go ahead.
Thank you so much. So the STRs are treated as a lodging business, and so you could consider looking at what you already require for the Hotel Stevenson and the other location as far as what the requirements are there.
Good note, thank you.
Yeah. Not quite at that level of intensity, but it's,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, again, you wanna take the liability away from the city and
Right.
put it,
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
liability onus on the owner.
Yeah.
So are we agreeing to do every year license or every 2-year license?
Maybe you phrase it in there that the owner is responsible for ensuring the building is maintained in a safe and sound condition. And is also required to, file an inspection report with their application. So in other words, the burden is again, you want the burden to be on the owner to maintain that same condition, rather than having us provide the standards out there.
Mhm.
We're putting it on him to maintain that or her to maintain that in a safe and secure condition. And that, and that these made provision for, fire protection, et cetera. I don't.
And that's called out in the Washington State guidelines.
Mhm. So again, 1 year and 2-year.
I'm in favor of a 1-year license.
I'm in favor of the 1-year license from August's standpoint, that it gives us an opportunity to have people roll off the list faster if they're really not interested in continuing it.
Okay,
Okay.
but any inspection report that's less than 24 months old is still good.
You have to have an inspection report that is less than 24 months old.
That's fine.
And current liability and proof of current liability
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah, because you do that every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Would you run this through your attorney?
We will, before it's an
yeah, of
ordinance.
Yeah.
We're just the baby steps.
But this has been a good, this is a good process, because I think I think we're now at the point where we could say, okay, President and staff, this is ready to be turned into a proposed ordinance. I think we know what it needs to say now.
Yeah, this is what we want. There'll obviously be other provisions that will be, included as we go through that process.
Yeah.
But this is a really good starting point to make that framework.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And the fire marshal give you a list of inspectors? Or does that come from somebody else?
I'm not sure. I would assume so. I'm not sure. I can always sort of reach out to Arnold.
Yeah, we could ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they are reluctant to give you a list of inspectors.
Mm-hmm.
simply because they don't want to be perceived as endorsing any particular inspector.
Well, insurance companies probably have lists too.
Well, yeah, in terms of getting, insurance, liability insurance for a vacation rental, they may have some specific, inspection requirements.
You could always copy and paste the Hood River list.
I love our copy and paste mentality.
I think the interesting thing is these
Except they may have been
ordinances are all very
licensed in
similar.
Washington.
Yeah.
And some of them are identical.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The guy I called was, he was from White Salmon,
Okay.
licensed in Washington.
Yeah, it does both.
But yeah, you're right about that.
This is
Good
good.
job, Jeff. Thank you.
I think we're in good shape in terms of having something that we all, by and large agree upon and think's ready to go forward.
So I'll write this up and work with Les and get it out to you guys to take a look at. And get comments back,
Yeah,
and if we're all comfortable with it, we'll have something that we can put our final stamp on in January, and then hopefully by February, we can get some attention. It would be nice to have this, done and available for the next tourist season, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh, definitely.
So, I think we're online to do that.
yeah, I would say in terms of timeline, depending on, the edits that need to be made, I think we could have, a draft of the ordinance ready by February, I imagine, and then have two, hearings for it. And so it should be ready by April, I would think. I mean, as long as there aren't many, delays or anything like that, but, I mean, if that timeline sounds reasonable to you, I think that's something that staff could do.
That's great.
Good.
Yeah.
I just have a funny question I thought about. If you have a residential unit with an ADU and you rent out the ADU as a short-term rental, but then in October, you head to Arizona for the winter. Can you now rent out the main house as well, so that you've got two short-term rentals on the same property?
Yes, because
That's the
it's your
one-in-one.
if it's your primary residence and you're
Primary
gone for a
residence,
while, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be year two, though.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to have a home across town. that
Right,
you're doing
that's it.
also.
You've used up your
except-
quota.
Except you would be permitted for one address.
Oh, I see.
That's true.
Do ADUs have a separate address?
Mm-mm.
Is it one address or is it one unit?
It's units. We need to stick to units, not address.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's a biggie.
You have to go and spoil it.
yeah, I think too much.
That's my
No,
guess here.
that's-
And it's right here. 1-in-1 units. Residents. +1.
Okay,
Very good.
Good.
other thoughts?
I think we're in good shape on this. I just to go to the order. I don't know how many people subscribe to the New York Times, but there's a New York Times story. Every one of our Sunday rituals is to actually sometimes go get the New York Times in paper form still and make a pot of coffee and read it.
I had no idea you're that old.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's showing my age. And we did that this weekend, and there's a very large story about a little town in New Mexico, or is it Texas? Sorry, that got completely buffaloed, however you want to call it, rolled by a giant data center. And now the residents are going, what about the water? What about the power? It's a fascinating, horrific cautionary tale about big money and big tech colliding with really small local
Rural
government.
areas.
And,
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah. that was-
did you see that story?
Yeah, that
It's like,
was-
oh, man, we've got cheap power and a lot of water. Ah! It's a cautionary tale, I think, but wow.
Yeah.
It's a hair-raising story.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So all kinds of stuff in that story to make you crazy, but just the very premise of it, interesting to read. So if you haven't seen it, worth a look.
Yeah. what was it? I thought I saw a recent story too. I think it was Tucson, where the number of vacation rentals has gone just
Oh, yeah,
ballistic.
yeah.
And they're really struggling. The horse got out of the barn, you
Yeah.
know, and it's, you know, they can't get it back.
Yeah, yeah, that's why it's good that we're doing this. Addressing the problem before criticality, so.
Bernie, is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up here tonight?
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being a part of this very thoughtful and considerate conversation. I think you guys are all doing the right thing in protecting the community and the neighborhood feel of the city of Stevenson. And at the same time, we look forward to supporting tourism in Stevenson with our ADU. So this all sounds perfectly balanced. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate that feedback.
Good of the order. A week from Saturday is the last craft for this year event at the Stevenson Library. We're going to be making Christmas ornaments. You all missed the wreath making, which was a lot of fun. But it's from 10 to 3. Just bring yourselves and it's free. The kids love the ornament stuff. So just participate. Then in January, we will have an event. We will make vision boards. I did not know what a vision board was. I guess it's a 1980s or 90s thing. I must have missed it. And so where you make a board with your vision, your pictures and other things. I thought of it as being good, for my funeral, but it's something now that I have some control over. So that's something. It could be something for your kids or for your grandkids, or bring your grandkids and you can make a vision board with them. These are all fun events. Our library is fantastic. And this time of year is just so special. We need special this time of year.
They're here.
And we're lucky to have this library.
Yeah, it is very good.
Oh, and we have a tool. We're getting a tools library too in our library. So you can rent tools there. And if you have any suggestions for what's not on the list, talk to David Wyatt. I think that's really a great thing.
Yeah, those are a good idea.
And on a depressing note, I went to a League of Women Voters yesterday and we saw a video on all the bad things that will happen next year because of budget cuts. And that especially to folks in the lower incomes. It's sad. I'll forward it to you all, and it talks about clinics closing and hospitals, especially in rural areas. I think that's just sad.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, you can be happy about
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn. Second that.
I know we've got a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor, please say